Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, 1960, shocked audiences and redefined the horror genre, leaving an indelible mark on cinema history. But what became of the film's iconic cast over the decades? As we enter 2025, we take a closer look at the lives of Anthony Perkins, Janette Leigh, Vera Miles, and others. From their subsequent careers to personal triumphs and tragedies, discover how the stars of Psycho navigated their lives after the film's legendary success. What legacies have they left behind, and how are they remembered today? Join us as we uncover the fascinating stories of these unforgettable actors, 65 years later. Anthony Perkins took on the chilling role of Norman Bates in Psycho, 1960, when he was about 28 years old. Perkins' portrayal of Bates, a deeply disturbed man whose psyche is fractured by his domineering mother, redefined horror villains with his unsettling blend of boyish charm and murderous insanity. However, his life behind the scenes was marked by turbulence. Although he achieved fame early on, Perkins' career saw dramatic swings, from being a promising star in Friendly Persuasion, 1956, to typecasting struggles following Psycho. His personal life was fraught with difficulties. Perkins married Barry Berenson in 1973, and they had 2 sons, Osgood and Elvis, but his bisexuality, kept hidden due to societal pressures, caused significant internal strife. Professionally isolated and battling with his identity, Perkins faced a tragic diagnosis of HIV in the 1980s, ultimately succumbing to AIDS-related pneumonia on September 12, 1992 at 60, leaving behind a legacy shrouded in both fame and personal suffering. John Gavin, cast as the steadfast Sam Loomis in Psycho, 1960, at 29 years old, represented the traditional hero archetype. Yet, Gavin's real life was far from idyllic. Despite his success in Imitation of Life, 1959, and Spartacus, 1960, his acting career never soared as expected, leading him to switch to politics, where he served as the U.S. ambassador to Mexico. Gavin's personal life saw its share of turmoil. He married actress Constance Towers, with whom he had 2 children, but the pressures of Hollywood and his own battles with self-worth led to a complex and often strained family dynamic. His later years were marred by a long battle with leukemia, complicated by pneumonia, which claimed his life on February 9, 2018 at 86, ending the journey of a man who seemed perpetually caught between potential and reality, struggling against the tide of his own expectations. Janette Leigh took on the role of Marion Crane in Psycho, 1960, at the age of 33. Marion is a young woman who, driven by desperation, steals a large sum of money in an impulsive attempt to escape her troubled life, only to meet a brutal end at the hands of Norman Bates. In real life, Leigh's career was a whirlwind of highs and lows, with her iconic role in Psycho defining her career. Yet, despite her fame, she endured personal struggles. She married actor Tony Curtis in 1951, and they had 2 children, Kelly and Jamie Lee Curtis, but their marriage was filled with infidelity and ended in 1962. Leigh's second marriage to Robert Brandt also ended in divorce. Her life outside of film was marked by emotional turmoil, including an ongoing battle with personal demons and health issues. Janette Leigh passed away on October 3, 2004 at the age of 77 due to vasculitis, leaving behind a legacy defined by both fame and personal tragedies. John McIntyre, who portrayed Sheriff Al Chambers in Psycho, 1960, at the age of 53, played a pragmatic lawman who first dismisses the disappearance of Marion Crane but later becomes entangled in the investigation. McIntyre's career was long and steady, with remarkable work in TV series like Wagon Train and The Virginian. However, his personal life was marked by the struggles of maintaining a family in the face of the relentless pressures of Hollywood. He was married to actress Janette Nolan, and their marriage was a stable one, but McIntyre's career did not bring him the kind of fulfillment he had hoped for. His later years were filled with health problems, culminating in a battle with lung cancer and emphysema. On January 30, 1991, McIntyre passed away at the age of 83, leaving behind a legacy of performances that were overshadowed by the quiet pain of his declining health and the isolation that often accompanies old age. Martin Balsam, cast as Detective Milton Arbogast in Psycho, 1960, at the age of 41, brought to life the determined investigator who tracks Marion Crane's disappearance, only to meet a tragic end at the Bates Motel. Balsam's career spanned decades, with notable roles in films like 12 Angry Men, 1957, and 1,000 Clowns, 1965. Yet, his personal life reflected a series of misfortunes. His first marriage to actress Joyce Van Patten ended in divorce, and his second marriage was marked by struggles that led to a strained family dynamic. Balsam's later years were filled with health complications, and he faced deep personal disappointment as his career slowed. On February 13, 1996, he passed away from a stroke at the age of 76, a sad end for a man whose on-screen presence was filled with determination and grit, but whose life was a mixture of personal heartbreak and health issues. Simon Oakland played Dr. Fred Richmond in Psycho, 1960, at the age of 45, a pivotal role where he provides a psychiatric explanation for Norman Bates' disturbing actions. Though Oakland had a steady career in film and television, his life was far from the stability his on-screen characters often portrayed. His personal life was marked by heartbreak, having suffered the loss of a child, which deeply affected him. He married twice, with both relationships ending in divorce, and faced emotional turmoil throughout his life. Despite his success in acting, his personal struggles were evident in his later years, dealing with depression and health issues. He passed away on August 29, 1983, at the age of 68 from heart failure, leaving behind a legacy of both professional acclaim and personal sorrow. Frank Albertson portrayed Tom Cassidy in Psycho, 1960, at age 51, a wealthy, flirtatious character who unwittingly becomes part of the tragic unfolding of events. Albertson's acting career spanned decades, but it was often marred by typecasting and a sense of unfulfilled potential. While his role in Psycho was memorable, his professional life was overshadowed by struggles, both personal and financial. His marriage to actress Barbara Babcock ended in divorce, and his later years were filled with financial difficulties, which, combined with his personal dissatisfaction, left him emotionally drained. Albertson's depression and the fading of his career led to a lonely, challenging existence. He died on February 29, 1964, at age 55, his life a somber reminder of the toll unfulfilled dreams and personal loss can take. Vaughn Taylor, who portrayed George Lowry in Psycho, 1960, was 49 years old at the time. His character, a cautious and slightly stern employer, becomes concerned when Marion Crane disappears. Taylor's career was primarily in television, where he had a steady stream of roles, but Psycho would remain his most prominent film credit. However, his personal life was much less steady. Taylor married once, but his wife struggled with his frequent absences due to his acting career, eventually leading to a separation. The couple had children, but they remained largely out of the public eye. As Taylor's career waned, his health began to deteriorate, and he spent his later years in relative obscurity. His life was one of professional achievement tinged with personal sorrow. He passed away on April 26, 1983, at 72, his death largely unnoticed, marking the end of a career that had once promised more. Loren Tuttle, 53 when she played Mrs. Chambers in Psycho, 1960, had an extensive career in radio and television. She portrayed the supportive wife of Sheriff Al Chambers, offering a grounded presence in the midst of the investigation. While Tuttle was admired for her talent, her personal life was marred by multiple troubled marriages. Her first marriage to actor John H. McIntyre ended due to his infidelity and their inability to connect emotionally, and she had 2 children with him. However, her strained relationship with them would continue as they grew up, with her children expressing bitterness over her emotional neglect. Tuttle's second marriage was similarly filled with difficulties, and it also ended in separation. In her later years, she was diagnosed with cancer, which she fought bravely but ultimately succumbed to. Loren Tuttle died on May 28, 1986, at the age of 78. Her passing was a quiet end to a life marked by both professional success and personal pain. Patricia Hitchcock played Caroline in Psycho, 1960, at age 32, a seemingly lighthearted role contrasting with the film's dark tone. As the daughter of Alfred Hitchcock, Patricia's career was forever intertwined with the weight of her father's immense shadow. Despite some early successes, Patricia's acting career never reached the heights many expected, and she often struggled with feeling overshadowed by her famous father. Her personal life was similarly troubled, with a marriage that eventually fell apart and 2 children, while family tensions lingered. Patricia faced emotional hardship in dealing with her public and private persona, which was further exacerbated by personal losses and her ongoing battle with living up to her father's expectations. She passed away on August 9, 2021, at age 93, her long life marked by both moments of quiet sorrow and the enduring legacy of her famous family. John Anderson, 38 when he portrayed California Charlie in Psycho, 1960, was a respected actor who frequently appeared in supporting roles. His character, a used car salesman who unwittingly helps Marion Crane, is one of the many minor figures that add complexity to the film's narrative. Anderson's own life, however, was far more tragic than the character he portrayed. His first marriage ended in financial ruin, and the emotional toll of the separation led to a deep sense of failure. His second marriage was filled with conflict and ultimately ended in divorce. He had 1 daughter, but their relationship deteriorated over the years, with the 2 becoming estranged. Despite his talent, Anderson's career did not reach the heights it might have, and in his later years, he faced health struggles. He died of a heart attack on August 7, 1992, at 69, his death going largely unnoticed by the public, marking the end of a life filled with personal and professional disappointments. Mort Mills, who portrayed the highway patrol officer in Psycho, 1960, at the age of 41, brought to life a suspicious and persistent figure whose role was to heighten Marion's growing paranoia as she sought to evade capture. In a career that spanned television and film, Mills found himself often cast in roles as authority figures, yet his personal life was marked by deeper struggles. He married actress Tippi Hedren in the 1950s, but their relationship quickly unraveled due to his inability to cope with the pressures of Hollywood life. Despite their union, Mills and Hedren divorced in the early 1960s. In his later years, Mills faced isolation and health issues, compounded by the overwhelming demands of his acting career. His personal battles and heartbreak led to a quiet decline. On June 6, 1993, he passed away from a heart attack at the age of 74, his death adding to the tragic arc of his life, which had been full of unfulfilled dreams and personal grief. George Eldridge, who portrayed Police Chief James Mitchell in Psycho, 1960, at the age of 62, was an experienced actor with numerous film and television credits, yet his own life was filled with silent suffering. Eldridge's career had ups and downs, but it was his personal life that truly mirrored the misfortunes of his on-screen roles. Though married to actress and shoemaker, their union was strained by his struggle with alcohol and his inability to balance his work and personal life. The couple's marriage ended in divorce, leaving Eldridge to face the loneliness that came with the collapse of his family. In his later years, he experienced a series of health complications that included strokes, which severely impacted his physical and emotional well-being. On March 12, 1977, Eldridge died at the age of 78 due to complications from a stroke, his death marked by the pain of unfulfilled potential and the weight of a life lived in the shadows of personal sorrow. Francis DeSales, who played Deputy District Attorney Alan Dietz in Psycho, 1960, at the age of 48, was a figure caught up in the legal proceedings that followed the crimes at the Bates Motel. DeSales' career was filled with television roles, yet his personal life was fraught with emotional pain and turmoil. Though he married actress Betty Garrett in 1944, their relationship suffered under the weight of DeSales' ongoing battles with alcoholism, leading to a strained and unhappy marriage. Despite their efforts to stay together, they divorced in the early 1960s, and DeSales was left to cope with the loneliness that plagued him throughout his life. He struggled to maintain any semblance of normalcy, and his later years were marked by bouts of depression. On September 25, 1988, DeSales passed away at the age of 76, his death casting a shadow over a life of lost opportunities and broken relationships. Sam Flint played the uncredited role of the county sheriff in Psycho, 1960, at the age of 78. His character, though minor, serves as a quiet symbol of authority, a figure whose understated presence adds to the suspense of the film. Flint's career, which spanned several decades, was a series of fleeting roles and underappreciated moments. Despite his steady work, he struggled with the limited recognition that his career in supporting parts brought. His personal life was marked by loneliness, he never married and had no children, and he lived most of his life in relative obscurity. Flint's later years were filled with financial struggles and isolation. He passed away on October 17, 1980, at the age of 97, his death a quiet, forgotten end to a life spent largely in the shadows of the film industry. Virginia Gregg provided the voice for Norma Bates in Psycho, 1960, at the age of 44. Her character, the haunting and controlling mother of Norman Bates, became one of the most iconic voices in horror cinema, though Gregg's own career was often overshadowed by the success of the film. While her voice became immortalized, her life was a series of struggles that contrasted sharply with her professional achievements. Virginia married, but her personal life was marked by hardship, including a tumultuous marriage that ended in divorce. She had no children, and her emotional life remained largely unfulfilled. Gregg battled illness in her later years, with her health rapidly deteriorating due to lung cancer. She passed away on September 15, 1986, at the age of 70, her death a tragic end to a life filled with both professional acclaim and deep personal pain. Ted Knight, who portrayed the uncredited role of the deputy outside holding cell in Psycho, 1960, was 37 when he appeared in the film. Although his role was brief, he added to the film's atmosphere of tension and paranoia. Knight's career took off later, particularly with his role in the Mary Tyler Moore Show in the 1970s, where he became beloved for his portrayal of the bumbling, egotistical Ted Baxter. However, his path to success was marred by personal pain. Knight had a troubled marriage to his wife, Dorothy, which became strained due to his growing fame and frequent emotional outbursts. They had 2 children, but Knight's inability to connect with his family caused them deep emotional distress. His marriage ended in divorce, with both children cutting ties with him over time. Knight's struggles were compounded by health problems, and despite his success, the personal cost was high. After being diagnosed with colorectal cancer, Knight underwent surgery, but complications led to his death on August 26, 1986, at the age of 62. Alfred Hitchcock directed Psycho, 1960, at the age of 61, leaving behind a legacy that redefined suspense and horror. As the master of psychological thrillers, Hitchcock's career was studded with iconic films, but his personal life was a stark contrast to the images of control and perfection he created on screen. Hitchcock's marriage to Alma Reville was a complicated one, marked by emotional distance and his tendency to treat her as both a collaborator and an object of possessive control. Despite their long marriage, there were frequent rumors of his infidelity, including his obsession with his actresses, particularly his leading ladies. Hitchcock's internal demons and struggles with his own weight and health followed him into his later years. His death on April 29, 1980, at the age of 80 from kidney failure, came at the close of a life filled with not only professional triumphs but deep personal suffering, leaving behind a mixed legacy of genius and personal tragedy. Frank Kilman, who played the minor, uncredited role of Bob Summerfield in Psycho, 1960, was 26 years old at the time of filming. His character was one of the many fleeting figures in the film, contributing to the atmosphere of suspicion and unease. Despite the film's massive success, Kilman's career never took off in the same way. He had a string of minor roles in television and film, but none ever reached the iconic status of Psycho. His personal life was fraught with tragedy. Married young to a woman named Linda, their relationship quickly deteriorated due to his emotional distance and her infidelity. They had 1 child, a son named Michael, but Kilman's absences for work and a growing bitterness led to a painful divorce. His struggles with addiction worsened, and his career continued to falter. By the time he was diagnosed with cancer, his health had already been weakened by years of self-destructive behavior. He passed away on April 17, 1992, at the age of 58. Janette Nolan, who voiced the haunting and manipulative character of Norma Bates in Psycho, 1960, at the age of 49, was an actress whose career spanned radio, television, and film. While Norma Bates is never seen alive, her sinister influence over her son, Norman Bates, permeates the entire film. Nolan's voice brought an eerie, chilling presence that has since become iconic. Her career, however, was marked by struggle, both professionally and personally. Nolan was married to actor John McIntyre for nearly 3 decades, yet their relationship was not free from turmoil. The couple's marriage was marred by John's increasing dependence on alcohol, and they eventually separated. Despite having 2 children, Nolan was unable to shake the shadow of her own tragic circumstances. As the years wore on, Nolan's health declined, and she faced the crushing loneliness that often accompanies aging. She passed away on June 5, 1998, at the age of 86, from a stroke. Hans Mobis, who played a brief, uncredited role as a passerby on the sidewalk in Psycho, 1960, was 58 years old at the time. Mobis was a stage actor with a career that often found him in small, inconspicuous roles, much like his appearance in Hitchcock's classic thriller. Although he had a deep passion for the theater, Mobis's career never reached significant heights, and he was often overlooked in the industry. His personal life was a series of disappointments, marked by an unhappy marriage to his wife, Margaret, whom he wed in the late 1930s. The couple had 2 children, but their relationship was filled with constant tension and financial struggles. The pressures of supporting his family and his inability to find steady work caused him to grow increasingly distant from his loved ones. After years of neglect, Margaret left him in the 1950s, and Mobis never fully recovered from the separation. His health deteriorated quickly, and he died on April 3, 1976, at the age of 73, succumbing to complications from a chronic illness. Don Ross, who portrayed the mechanic in Psycho, 1960, at the age of 40, played a minor but memorable role that contributed to the film's atmosphere of suspense. Ross' career was not filled with the kind of fame that many of his co-stars experienced, but his contributions to film were nonetheless significant. Unfortunately, his personal life was plagued with misfortune. Ross was married several times, but his relationships were characterized by turbulence, with each ending in divorce. He struggled with periods of financial instability, which only added to the personal demons he faced. Though he had a reputation as a hard-working character actor, his personal life was a stark contrast, marked by solitude and emotional pain. Ross' health began to deteriorate in his later years, as he faced the toll of old age and his own inner turmoil. On January 15, 2011, he passed away at the age of 90. Robert Osborne, who played a small yet significant role in Psycho, 1960, at the age of 28 as a man, was best known as the longtime host of Turner Classic Movies. He was born in 1932, but his life, while filled with accomplishments, was marked by moments of deep melancholy. Osborne's knowledge of cinema was unparalleled, yet in his personal life, he never found the same kind of lasting fulfillment. A string of failed relationships and loneliness followed him for much of his life, and he remained childless. Despite his popularity on television, Osborne struggled to connect with his audiences on a personal level, as he often confided that the fame that came with his position could not fill the emotional void he felt. Though his contributions to film were celebrated, Osborne was, at his core, a man haunted by a sense of unfulfilled dreams. His passing on March 6, 2017, at the age of 84, due to natural causes. Vera Miles brought determination to her role as Lila Crane in Psycho, 1960, at the age of 31, embodying a character whose bravery and perseverance drive the film's narrative forward. Known for her work in Hitchcock's The Wrong Man, 1956, and Psycho, Miles seemed destined for stardom but faced a career decline after rejecting a lead role in Vertigo due to pregnancy. Her personal life mirrored this instability. Married 4 times, with 2 sons and 2 daughters, Miles endured tumultuous relationships, including a notably unhappy marriage with actor Gordon Scott, which ended in divorce. Though she remained active in film and television into the 1990s, Miles' later years were quieter, overshadowed by the loss of her contemporaries and fading fame. Now 95, she lives a private life, having outlasted many of her co-stars, yet bearing the weight of past struggles and Hollywood's unforgiving nature. Who is your favorite character from Psycho? How do you feel knowing that some of the actors have passed away? Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this content, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss future videos. Thank you so much.